Winter is coming. White Walkers are coming. Zombies. Zombies, dragons, and titties are the three things that made the original series, Game of Thrones, work so much. Now, one of those crucial elements is missing from the Dance of the Dragons, which is what this new series, House of the Dragon, is going to be based on. It's a Targaryen civil war. But one of the key things that made the first show so successful is missing from this recipe for this new series. That's the zombies, White Walkers. In this video, I want to discuss in particular if the White Walkers / the others / any sort of zombie element will play a role in this new series, House of the Dragon. Now, for those who are unaware, if you enjoy my content and you say long night along with me every time I do it in these videos, three things that you can do to really help out my channel, super quick and easy, and it's also free. The first thing is slap a like on this video. Like goal is going to be 420. Get it? And the second thing is to make sure you're subscribed, and then the third thing and the most important thing is to make sure you have your notifications turned on if you've already subscribed and liked the video. So that way, you'll get an alert every single time I drop a video throughout the wait for House of the Dragon Season 1, or as it's called on this channel, Long Night. Alright, now first things first, if there are going to be White Walkers on this new series, House of the Dragon, well then that would mean that they're changing canon, because obviously in Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 3, we saw what happened at the end of the White Walkers and it amounted to sort of nothing. So a lot of people may feel like there would be no purpose in bringing them up in this new series as they didn't really play a role in the original timeline or the story that reads like a history book from the point of view of multiple different characters filled with lies and inaccuracy, you know, the typical unreliable narrator. The White Walkers didn't really play a role in that story, or at least they're not really mentioned. So a lot of people think that if they are brought into this new series, it would sort of seem forced. And then also when you take into consideration the fact that it kind of amounted to nothing. I mean, Dan and Dave decided that the White Walkers were sort of a backplot, and the main story was Jon Snow, Daenerys, and Cersei, and then, you know, the citizens in King's Landing. So they sort of dealt with them quickly, had Arya take them out, and then we didn't hear anything about them from episode 3, even though the magic that they possess and that created them was still alive in brand. The series wrapped up in 6 episodes and we never got any more information on it. So one of the other things that a lot of people think about if they are brought up in this new series is not only will it be forced, but also it's kind of pointless. It amounts to nothing. Why the fuck would they play a role early on, you know, a couple hundred years before a Game of Thrones when we're not going to actually see them battle with the Northerners or anything like that? And while I do agree with that sentiment, we have to realize that the White Walkers did play a role, and it's possible to have them play a role in this new series, although it'll be sort of a light role, more so like how they do in the books, and they will in fact be a backburner, but you could use their magic and their sort of history to explore further into the Stark's connection to the others. Now, we do know that this story is called Ice and Fire, and ice magic did preserve, I guess, but not really, because fire destroyed everything. We were sort of given this half-ass ending for the White Walkers, and I'm pretty sure true fans want to see more of their history explored on screen. Like, for instance, one of the ways they could do it and sort of just like have the White Walkers make somewhat of an appearance and maybe sort of cover or uncover more of the mysteries is while they're visiting in the north telling the story of Cregan Stark and the role that he plays in the Dance of Dragons, they could trot on up to Castle Black. We could find out that the men who are serving at Castle Black at the time are dealing with the similar problems with Jon. We do know that the White Walkers are sort of building their army over this time period, so it would be interesting to see just a little callback to some Castle Black Night's Watch members having to deal with the undead, the White Walkers, and the others, and instead of us actually getting to see the massive army of the dead battle with the massive army of the living, we'll just get them more of like an 80s villain type horror, where they loom in the shadows, and every couple of episodes, maybe once or twice per season, we get some storyline that deals with the White Walkers and the others, and maybe even the Night King. You all let me know what you think about that down below in the comment section. I personally think it's going to be awesome to get to see Ice in its original form and not split up into 2 different swords. If Cregan or his uncle Bernard wields the sword at some point early on in the first season of this new series, that's going to be an amazing callback to Ned Stark, and I think that's going to be a big goal in at least this first season is callbacks. What can they do to subtly remind us of this original series, make us long for it, but also make us realize that this is a different time period? We're going to get to explore this world further, and even though though all of our favorite characters haven't even been born yet, we're gonna have new favorite characters. And a lot of the background elements and the setting is very similar, because although it is a couple hundred years before the events of what happens in A Game of Thrones and in A Song of Ice and Fire, the main series, it is still very much on a medieval time period. So the events and progress of technology and everything on that end hasn't really progressed all that much. So in short, I think it'll still very much feel like Westeros. And real quick, according to my YouTube statistics, this is right at the point in my videos where people tend to click off. So I want to give my patrons a proper shout out while everyone's still paying attention, and give these people a proper shout out. Now, a big special thank you to Joe Swag, Cater Top, Marilyn Miller, Nancy Toxstein, Leah Hendrickson, Bloody Tyrant, Brick23, Damon Mile, Mel of Winterfell, Ricky Lacey, Nancy Loera, Reflective Rambling, Markel Parker, Anne Marie Kelly, Matt Vance, Angie Delahanty, and Rogaine Ablar. They are members of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHunsReviews. If you're interested in joining and showing some support, check the link down below in the description, or the link that pops off at the end of this video. Now, for those who are unaware, getting back on track here, the Starks and the White Walkers have a bit of a long connection. Now, according to a direct quote from the book, the Night's King, it's not the exact same as the Night King on the TV show, mainly because Dan and Dave changed his background too much, and Martin wanted to avoid confusion with his story, so they're two separate characters, although one's inspired after the other one clearly. But the Night's King, the book version, the true version rather, not long after the Wall is complete, the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch breaks his oath and fell in love with the woman with skin as white as the moon and eyes blue like stars. Now that's clearly a White Walker, and when you take that into combination with the fact that while Bran Stark was on his way north, he remembers that old Nan used to tell the young Stark children stories of the Night Fort and the Night King, and she actually identified that the Night's King is actually a Stark of Winterfell, and he was brother to the King of Winter, and she even mentions that his name was in fact Brandon. Now the Starks and the others' connection goes back a bit further, as they worship the old gods, and the Great Other is in fact one of the many nameless, faceless gods that the Northerners worship. The first men and the Starks came over to Westeros when magic was still raw and uncut, and it likely mixed with their DNA, which would explain why the Starks have certain abilities that no other houses in Westeros have, i.e. like green seeing and the ability to warg into another animal. But if that theory that the Starks are actually a White Walker and the Night's King was a Stark in particular, then that means that in their line they have the blood of the others. So Jon Snow is not only a Targaryen, but he's also an other. He is a literal mix of ice and fire. Not that any of that really means anything at this point in the books, because Jon is laying on the ground dead as fuck. And my own personal theory is that if Jon Snow does in fact come back, he may not get any more POV chapters. Now, you know, you could counterpoint that by saying, well, then George won't have many POVs left, and Jon will have to be, since he was the main one and had so many chapters, George would have to make a new character to replace him. All that aside, if Jon Snow does in fact come back, I think he's going to be changed. He's going to kill the boy and let the man be born. So maybe what happens is, when Jon Snow is killed, the dragon side of him dies, and he comes back and he's ice. Now, obviously, he still has dragon DNA, but we're looking for symbolism, metaphor here. Maybe he'll be the full reincarnation of ice. Daenerys is fire. The two of them have to come together in order to save the world. But relating back to how this could play in House of the Dragon, of course, Ryan Condal and Miguel Sapochnik are aware of the Starks' connection to the others, and they realize that the White Walkers and zombies in general played a heavy element in this success portion of why Game of Thrones was such a hit. The show combined nudity, titties, occasional pubic mounds, mostly men's dongs, but also dragons, zombies, and magic. Now, you need one of those elements the same way you need all of those elements, and I'm pretty sure Ryan Condal can write in a way that maybe one of Cregan's siblings, or children rather, gets captured by a White Walker, and this involves the show having to write in answers, or the show versions, to some of the bigger mysteries in A Song of Ice and Fire. That being House Stark and their connection to the Night's King and the Great Other. And the last point I want to make, which is sort of like a counterpoint to all the points I just made, is that the main focus of this series is going to be dragons. White Walkers, zombies, and the Ice Dragon took up a major budget of the last few seasons, and even the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. This new series is going to be mainly focused on House of the Dragons, so whatever role the White Walkers play in this new series, House of the Dragon, will likely be a back role, and will mainly be put in on episodes that are slower, that don't necessarily involve that many dragons. I've seen a few comments on some crazy bullshit subreddit sites that were just saying, oh yeah, so they can have a lot of dragons, and they can be around, but we don't have to see them. No, the reason why they ended their lease at Belfast and moved to the new studio, Leavesden, happen in London is because dragons are going to be on screen. They need a studio that is used to handling movie and big budget things for when they film this show. They need the big guns brought in, so to speak. Well, alright, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video. So like goal is going to be 420. Get it? I'm weed. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then it's the most important part. If you've already subscribed and slapped a like on this video, make sure you turn your notifications all the way on, so that way you get an alert every single time I drop a video throughout this long night. Super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/reviews. If you all watching this video are interested in joining and showing some support, check out the link down below in the description, or the link that's just popped off at the end of this video. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name is Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Reviews.